Understand you, you must step inside. For all the reasons we could think to hate you, we want to make it right.
The idea of Safe Camp symbol isn't necessarily just to represent our band, you know, it's to represent a person who is who is freed by music and who is in love and obsessed with music. Like the whole idea of it was the kind of community that was following the band sort of felt like its own little tribe. So adopting this idea, this little table, which essentially is just a table, which basically means that you can sleep here and you can get fed here and you can chill here. Adopting that as a little thing, you know, was basically to represent that hey, we are sustained by this thing and you can be sustained by it too. It's here for you too. You can rest here, you can get your nourishment from music and from art and from people trying to free themselves. The idea of things being safe, it's not something I can qualify, you know? And it's crazy because, you know, I can say you come to our show and you're safe from judgment, but I can't save somebody from being judged. It's always weird when the Safe Camp thing comes up because I'm yeah, fuck, dude, because I look out and I see people at shows getting their fucking heads kicked in. You know what I mean? This isn't necessarily a place where you're not gonna go get kicked in the back of the head. I find myself all the time now getting conflicted because people want to go somewhere where you're gonna be safe, physically safe. And when I went to concerts when I was a kid, it was you were not. Somebody might just decide to start throwing kicks at one side of the room, and that's what made it so exciting to be there. Yeah. And if my little kid was at a show and got kicked by some asshole, I would feel so shitty about it, and I'd have to deal with that in that way. But do I want to make it so that people can't go to concerts and fucking go wild and dance? I don't really think so. Let's just sing and dance, you know? Come on!
Completely backwards, no one could see. We ended up where we needed to be. Find out how it all works. There's so many partners, nobody wants to sit behind the wheel. Behind the wheel. Who's the one pounding the gears? Completely backwards, nobody knows if we're even close to. Find out how it all works. There's so many assholes, nobody wants
I mean, I don't know if it's something that like other bands don't do, you know, but I know we always try our best to like stay communicating. It's ready? Okay. We can, that's a good topic though. We can get into that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But let's eat so we don't get yelled at.
After this much time together, it becomes so much like family that, you know, like brothers fucking fight. Like hanging out with Anthony's kids, you're just like, wow, this is wild what brothers, like the way brothers interact with each other. I never had that when I was young, really, but I've had it with friends in different situations over the years. And I don't know, I feel really lucky to have that with these guys.
I mean, we've gone through our periods of time where maybe we're a little more, you know, traditional band dude shitheads, but ultimately, I think we're much more kind of intuitive to each other's emotions and what we're going through.
As far as like the relationships with the band, it's like once you get past that initial sort of couple of years where you get into people's real shit and we all live in a house together for a few years and we're like, yo, this guy pisses on the seat every day, like I'm losing my mind, you know what I mean? Like eventually you just, if it's all worth it to you and I don't know, I think we had so many things early on where it was just like, all right, well, we have a confrontation, how are we going to deal with it? And everybody in the band seems to just care about each other enough to say like, okay, well, yeah, I was not in the right in this moment. We're all like self-aware, I think, and sensitive enough to be able to be like, that's my bad, I did that.
The idea that we can't make mistakes and say, hey, I was embarrassed by this and I did it and I fucked up, because we're so scared of fucking up is that sucks.
I think in general we try to be the opposite of like the typical male, kind of the way men typically interact, I think is very like cold and kind of closed off. We try to be open and like supportive and warm towards each other. There's a level of sensitivity that the band has developed over the years that to me is really integral to us staying together, you know.
I think it's everybody just going at it with that mentality of just wanting to just make the best music, you know, the best music that they felt proud to share and proud to talk about. The thing that like gave them the chills about the music they loved that other people made, they just want to replicate that. And I think that all of us just had that, and we were just like, yes, and we found each other and we decided, all right, these are the people I can do this with. I'm not going to give up on it and have to deal with some other dude's bullshit. I'm going to deal with this guy's bullshit and get good at dealing with this guy's bullshit. Because it's either this or it's somebody else.
Right.
My goal is to just make music, makes me feel good. I just know that if I have that feeling within a song, if I can listen to a song the band did or I did and I have that feeling where I'm like, oh fuck, I know that people are gonna support it and like it, and I'm not afraid to put it out there like that. Do I know if it's gonna pay my mortgage? No. Or if it's gonna put food on the table for the kids and all that shit, that's not my concern. I'll figure that out. My concern is just making sure that those goosebumps are there. I put them there, and that I could play them for somebody else and be like, dude, you want to fucking feel some musical goosebumps? Check out these ones I made. You know?
Having what we feel is success, which is being able to keep financially stable and a way that we're able to create music and go out and play to people who are excited to hear it. That's really all, you know, that's what it all boils down to. Like having that kind of success obviously propels everything and keeps us like in a frame of mind to want to support the system and keep it moving forward.
I think that in general, like people go to music because of that escapism thing. And like that's what I do it. And when you have people that are courageous and are fearless and are going out and putting on like this symbolic, massive show of freedom of expression, you're just drawn to it. Doesn't matter what they look like, their face, their clothes, or whatever. And for me, like I was always just writing about shit I knew. That became my thing. You know, my thing was about my friends and my life, and it was real. You know, had I made it about some comic or something, you know, narrative, like who knows what would be going on, you know. But I like got lucky in that way, and I got fucked in that way, because I like, you know, there's just no running from it. Now it's like a thing where people are like, well, what is this about? And I'm like, fuck, kind of don't want to talk about it right now. Give me like 5 years and I'll talk about it. And the band can live and breathe in like a studio space, but like going out in the world and moving, going in and planting seeds and going and making things and making moments, like we need a team of people for that.
Dude, I actually love the crew right now. It's nice to have a solid crew and not to be wondering if there's going to be a new dynamic on the next tour that you have to sort of figure out. And I know Brad has other jobs that he has to sort of balance that with us. But when he's not going to be there, I get worried.
Yeah.
Because he's like, you know, he's got my back as well as anybody's ever had my back as a guitar tech. And it can't last forever. People are going to want to do other stuff. And, you know, like Jake is like, dude, merch is burning me out. And it would burn me out if I did it for 3 days. So I understand. I mean, the bottom line is I wish we had more money to give everybody, and I wish we could bring one more person, realistically, and have everybody have like an even more dedicated workspace where they're like, I just do this. Short answer is I love having the crew the same all the time. It's great.
Huddle up. Who's huddling up? All the little kids get in the middle. All right. Sorry I'm late. Number one, number two. I love you all. No matter what the fuck happens on stage tonight, I love you. Sorry. No matter what the heck happens on stage, I love you. Boys love you, and we all love each other no matter what. So let's go out and have fun and get paid to play some fucking music. My bad. Okay. Heck yeah on three. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Yeah!
Suppression makes a waste. It strips the light of everything. Too scared to walk away down in your heart. The image of your love.
the strangest thing that's happened to you on tour?
No, man. The other day I was on stage playing a song that is on the Amulet, playing Premonition of the Hex, which that song is like about some crazy shit for me. And I had my children on stage with me, dancing.
Oh.
And like looking at them on stage in front of 1,000 people, you know, or I don't even know how many. Just dance and be free with the crowd, you know, like not scared. That was a pretty cool moment. You know, I know that's not like a crazy tour story or drinking pee or,
Hey, that's,
getting fucked up, but for me, that's the type of stuff that I cherish, you know. Nothing matters except for the fact that we love each other.
Awesome.
I love that. You see little kids singing and dancing, you're just like, man, this is all they do. They just live in this state where they're just constantly creating and being free and open. And I think that's what the band should represent, just like free and openness. I'm trying to do that with everything.
Like, you made that person, and we're all here.
And we're together on
it's
stage,
like
all
crazy.
dancing,
Yeah,
guys.
it's just
At a
crazy.
place where I saw like one of my first concerts.
Yeah, it was amazing.
I flash back to like
I wish you were here last
that
night.
church
It was awesome.
in England, like right before,
Oh my
right
God.
before James was born.
The Church
when
of
you
the
wrote
Holy
James
Name.
song.
She was there.
Like,
It's crazy.
like that's all I could think about was that to that moment. All of a sudden he's just like exploding on stage. Like,
It was really
I looked out there and I saw like one of his teachers
in the crowd.
in the crowd
No.
going
And it's our
ape shit, like losing her mind.
I mean, parenting on tour is, it's definitely one of the hardest things I've ever done. And I'll FaceTime them, and for the first part of the tour, she's like, "Daddy," she's really excited. And then after a few weeks, she would say like, "No, I don't want to," and like sort of bury her head. And there's this weird thing that we're dealing with right now where it's like uncomfortable for her to see me in a little box and not be able to play with me and not be able to like get a hug from the person who puts her to sleep every night. What are you doing? You got a nail file? That's a really tough dynamic for me because I'm like, it's sort of just hurts, you know? Not just because I don't get to see her all the time, but, you know, just being in and out, having an in and out long distance relationship with anybody is hard. So I've always felt like there's sort of like the duality, like we're living like a double life as we tour.
They're so good. I love it. Don't you think it?
What is that from?
I made it up.
Because that's very poetic. I'm impressed. Oh, don't do that.
You try?
I really wanna show you. I really wanna go with you. I really wanna show you, Lord, but it takes too long. Oh my Lord, my sweet Lord, my sweet will, my sweet Lord. You're The marble's colder than a match's tale. Lead with the separate in the street to your world. You make no evidence at all. The tourniquet candles in the soul. Will dance, you don't have to regret to know all at all. Now we'll jump, we'll free and rain apart.
To me, like, just replicating that feeling of, like, we get goosebumps feeling, to me is enough, you know, for me. And if that inspires somebody else, like, that's great, that's awesome. But the idea of doing it when the goal is like something outside of yourself, you're just always gonna miss the mark. But when you can tell internally that this is something that is meaningful, you know, you might not always get that, you know, you might not always get that other person to get it, but man, if you know it, there's something so rare about it.
You face the sun, cut with the pressure point inside your catapult.
And you hear it in musicians and in artists when they're just being truly honest, and the melody matches the words and the feeling. And those people didn't do it. Those artists didn't create out of the idea of trying to communicate something to the world that like didn't understand them. They were trying to make something out to themselves.
You don't have to know. Stargaze in the moonlight will burn. You don't have to read them. No.
In that, you know, they reach all these people who are also just trying to do that, you know. So the idea of reaching all those people only ever really happens with reaching it within.
Your passageway. Who's love to your precious stare.
To me, that's like the biggest symbol of like, well, yeah, I mean, you know, you just express your own suffering and all these other people's light bulbs go off. And it's like, well, oh fuck, we're all suffering. We're all going through that same shit.
Just to see how much you can take.
You know, that's kind of the big secret of Circa, is that we're all sort of taking care of ourselves right now in a way where we're making time to take care of each other as members of the band. It's not about like just pushing the band on. It's about making sure everybody feels cared about and respected and loved, and make sure everybody's in an environment that can just incubate creativity, you know? And it's hard, you can't do that without people feeling loved and respected.
During like the Violent Waves, like right after we got done Violent Waves, we were all going through a lot of shit, like really dark shit. Anthony was struggling with addiction stuff. I went through a divorce. Nick went through a divorce. You know, Brendan and Steve were both struggling with like alcohol problems and just kind of like depression stuff. And like none of us were talking. You know, like we weren't even we were barely functioning as a band at that point. It was very strange, but it definitely felt like the band was ending in a lot of ways. You know, it felt like we were just getting further and further apart. And after that whole cycle, when everything almost burnt down, I think what was really reinstilled and like kind of put to the forefront is number one is like our relationship with each other, and like our individual well-being is before the band.
I think that we just set the standard, kind of just set it in stone, saying we want this to last for a long time, and if we want to do that, it has to be that, you know, we're taking care of each other before we're taking care of money or success or any of those things, like, you know, like fame, success, or, you know, all of that.
Knowing that is very freeing. Knowing that at any point, if anyone needed to stop, either for good or take a break, there isn't anyone that would be like, no. You know what I mean? We all, at this point, I think we all put each other's well-being ahead of the career aspect of it. And while that is somewhat, I think some people would be unnerved by that, maybe, because you feel like, oh, well, if it's not guaranteed to continue, then where's your stability or whatever? You know, the reality of that is that that's never there, no matter what. If you think that's there, that's an illusion. That's because you're kidding yourself that there's nothing that could stop it. At any point, any one of us could, you know, die young. Any one of us could have something that takes us away from the band and not be able to do it anymore. And I think our goal as a group is to, anything that we can control from keeping that happen, we will. But ultimately, we're aware of the fact that people have families, people have other aspirations, people have, you know, dangerous behaviors, etc., etc. So there's any number of things that could make this band end. I think the thing that keeps it going is that we realize that in order for it to keep going, we have to keep our eye on all those things and acknowledge their existence.
Yeah, there is this empty file cabinet of infinite space just ready to get filled with your life. And sometimes, like, you're doing this, you know, these tours where you're doing a second record for a 10-year tour, and then all of a sudden our third record's gonna be like 10 years for that. And you just start like thinking about like how things change over time. And, you know, Wally's always gonna be Wally, you know, but he's gonna change. Someday he's gonna be walking into a room, like saying what's up to everybody, you know? And it won't be the same as it was right now, but it'll be Wally, you know? And when I think about, you know, my life, it's still a new thing, thinking about my life and wondering about the boys and their future. And that's what I think about. The band comes like in the background of that. I wonder how I can be there for them, how I can be a good father for them, and how the band is going to play its role in that. And honestly, however I need to be their dad, I'm going to figure out how to be their dad. That is like the number one thing. And the band and making music and being a musician is like the greatest thing that could have ever happened to me. But I have no idea, you know, I spent my whole career just kind of looking at it like waiting for the other shoe to drop. And I never really know what's gonna happen. And, you know, as long as I can keep making music, I will, 100%. But when I think about Circa Survive and how it changes and grows, I really don't know what comes next, in any sense. You know, we plan for a certain amount of time to work And then we don't really talk about like what comes next with each other. We all just sort of assume that there's this like infinite file cabinet, you know? And sometimes with little babies coming, with times changing, tastes changing, people changing, I just wonder. I wonder about everything. I wonder, you know, what's gonna happen when tours are over. I wonder who my children are gonna turn into. And I wonder what happens to our records over time, you know? And I wonder when I'm gonna not be able to do it anymore, you know? And there's no answer to any of those things. It's just like chasing your tail, you know, thinking about that stuff. But I think about it. And whenever we're doing a new record, or whenever I wake up and whenever I'm, you know, kind of distraught about what comes next, I just sort of try to just stop thinking and just keep moving forward on this path that I've been on for a while. And then it just keeps rolling. And thinking about it really doesn't do anything.
Thank you so much. I love this so much. And I get very confused on trying to figure out how to hold on to it. And this is really cool. So thanks for tonight. This is our last song. See you soon.
take over for me.
was awesome. Thanks again.
You want to tell the Beyonce story?
No, fuck that story. Fuck telling stories. I'm so sick of telling stories. You know, that's the thing. I don't want to ever like be the guy that's like, oh, remember that time? Like, no,